Today's adventure, we're going to walk past these two turbo Miatas, and this blue thing here is going to become a turbo Miata by the end of this video. This is a 90 Miata with a beautiful sparkly blue wrap on it. Nice wheels, tires, etc. Big chassis mount wing on the back. Here he has a full exhaust, including a header. Nice interior condition, cool gauges. Nothing to see under the hood, but I'll show you so you can see before versus after. Ta-da! Nothing to see here right now. Review over all the parts that the customer supplied to us. So I've laid everything out here. Let's go through. We have the Inline Motorsports coolant reroute. So this thing goes in the back side of the head and allows you access for the thermostat off to the side, as opposed to some of them which the thermostat is on the absolute back of the head. A little hard to get to. This is Mega Squirt Pro 2 plug and play. Yeah, plug and play 2. Oh, it's not the Pro, it's the Mega Squirt plug and play 2. Didn't come with an IAT. Usually I've seen these come with IATs, so I guess we're supplying that guy. Guy got the Flying Miata adapter. If you have a NA6, I don't know if it was the NA8s also, but the NA6 is for sure. You have to change out the TPS because it is not a sensor, it is a switch. So Flying Miata offers this adapter piece, and customer also got the BMW TPS. So this actually uses the stock connector. Downside of this is you can't use the stock wiring for it because the stock wiring supplies 12 volts and these sensors require 5 volts. We'll go over how that's wired later. Then this is the piping, the coolant and oil lines for the turbo. You'll see it even came with a tap. Although this is a 3/8 tap, we're actually going to be using our own fitting and doing a 1/2 inch for the drain because we always do the big drains. The bigger the turbo drain, the better. Customer supplied us this little Turbo Smart manual boost controller, 4 Bosch injectors. We have a wideband and a boost gauge, both AEMs, both digital. We have this two-pod gauge pillar. This is a really cool thing. So customer found this. This is by Quick Vent. This actually goes on the oil, where the oil cap is. So it screws in. It has changeable heads, so you can change that out. There's a little tool that it came with. So you change out the heads on this for whichever oil cap you need. But it allows you 2 10AN ports, so you don't have to port out your valve cover. Very cool. So we're going to be doing that. We have a 180 thermostat. So this is looks like a knockoff of a compact blow-off valve. It looks like it's a 50-50, or you can change how much. But this can be recirculation and or vent, and it comes with a little plug so you can choose, I guess. I'm not familiar with this one, I'll have to read through the instructions, but the kit did come with everything for recirculation. Supplied us a 3-piece Mishimoto kit. We can't use the upper though because we will be doing the coolant reroute. This is the intercooler piping. Notice there is a hole in that for our IAT, so we will be putting it there. And then we got 2 blow-offs. So this is just a regular complete vent to atmosphere Greddy. It looks like this is a used one as well, so I'm not sure where this fits in with the piping. We'll see. This is the recirculation tube, a bunch of couplers, including this guy, which is your elbow for the throttle body. This guy is also for recirculation purposes. I'm not sure where that goes as of now. We have our turbo. It's a Kraken turbo manifold with a Kraken downpipe. I'm presuming this is all Kraken exhaust as well. It came with V-bands, came with this beautiful 3-inch full exhaust. And then we have a basic intake over here, just a basic intake filter with a bunch of adapters. And then these 2 adapters right here are for turbo in and out. So we'll bolt that here and here. And the turbo, I believe he went with it should be a 2560 or 2571. What I'm going to start with is taking this guy apart, and I want to see if I need to port the wastegate port, because usually on the 25s, the GT25s, you'll have to port them out. Otherwise, you can hit overboost problems, especially when you're running a 3-inch full exhaust. There's not enough back pressure. in this case, to restrict you from getting boost. And then over here we have our fans. So customer supplied those. Looks like they were used, but they're already pre-wired to one connector, so we won't have to worry about doing too much wiring stuff there. All right, so that's all the parts they supplied. We'll be supplying a bunch of the fuel stuff, including the fuel rail, fuel pressure regulator, and then all the lines, etc., and the fuel pump as well. I've gotten all of the turbocharger stuff apart. We now have our turbine housing here. We have the center section still attached to the compressor. Probably won't need to disassemble this. We're not going to send this off for powder coating. Let's see. All of our sorted coast stuff here. We have a 5-bolt, 90-degree-ish turn down. That's part of the exhaust system. And then we have our Kraken manifold. As you see, it's already starting to rust on it. We'll be happily sending all of these hot side parts off for ceramic coating, though. And definitely the hot side, so this guy will be going off as well. I would like to point out that we will be taking care of doing porting on the exhaust side here. So the exhaust side, this is more important for the no-name brands. This is an authentic Garrett 2560R, but we will be doing it on this one as well. We usually put some paint on this thing, flap it open and closed, see how close the marks match, and we'll open this hole up a little bit to make sure that the wastegate never gets overloaded and causes overboost. Same here. It may be hard to see, but through here we're going to go and round this edge from this direction. That way the flow going in has no issue going through the wastegate when directed to do so. Again, this is much bigger of an issue on the no-name brand ones, so any ones that you get off of eBay or whatever that doesn't have a name brand on it. The Garrett, this is not going to be as prone, but we have had issues with them in the past. Definitely on the 2554s. So either way, it does not hurt to do this. If anything, it can help. This just is in the realm of overboost. So as I mentioned earlier, whenever you have a lot of exhaust gases coming through here, if there is so much exhaust gas that you're still, you have your wastegate wide open and you're still making lots of boost, then that is what you would consider overboost. And that can be an effect from changing out your exhaust system for something that's lower restriction, or having an inadequate wastegate, any of those things. So if the system was designed under the assumption of a certain amount of back pressure, then relieving that back pressure could cause the issue. Not saying that back pressure is necessary by any means. No one wants back pressure, but if the system was designed around a system that has it, then it will cause an issue. This system being full 3-inch exhaust, we're going to have very, very little back pressure, so it'll be very free flowing, and we want to make sure that this exhaust is able to waste off as much gas as it needs to. That makes sense? So I got some gear paint and I went ahead and put it on the wastegate flapper, and as you see, I flapped the wastegate flapper open and closed a couple of times, and you can see the marking it left. So what my objective is going to be is to open that up. I'm probably not going to worry so much about that side over down on the bottom, but more about this top side because there's a lot of overlap there. It's going to be very difficult to get a clean cut on the back side with how close this flapper is. And then on the back side, we'll just sort of sweep that. No real markings will be there because obviously even if I put markings on there, it'd be hard to see what I'm cutting. For grins, I went ahead and threw on our exhaust gasket here. We have our T25 exhaust gasket. I just wanted to demonstrate. I really don't plan on doing much porting with this, but you can see how much was left on the table for the gasket. But both of these flanges left quite a bit on the table. So really opening them up might not help very much, since this thing I can't really open up so much due to the backside casting. This one has plenty of meat. I could definitely port this out, but there's not much benefit to it if the turbo doesn't match. So probably on a larger frame, larger turbo, there's probably more casting material there where we could open this up more, but there's really not much for me to do there. Either way, I just thought I'd demonstrate you could do that as well. And for the last part, I went and looked. I don't have a 1.6 exhaust gasket on deck, but I wanted to see how they matched up here, because this one could probably benefit quite a bit. If the gasket doesn't match up, we would love to have more flow coming through this. This is stuff that I would do with any turbo system. Always check the manifold. Don't assume that it has perfect fitment or anything like that. If you want to port something, hey, you can port it out. Just obviously don't try to damage it, or be cautious, because like I said on this one, on the face it may look like we could open this up, but then if you look at the back side, the casting would not allow for you to port it out if you wanted to, because you'd end up going through the bolt holes. All right, so next I'm gonna go ahead and get to porting this guy out. Okay, I just spent a little bit of time over at the bench, and I used this grinder bit. This is it's just a longer steel bit, but this one allowed me to get the reach I wanted, as well as it has the taper to it. I didn't really need a straight cut, and that helped a lot with getting the angle down in there to get under. So what I did first is I took care of getting this, so about 180 of this circle I opened up a decent amount. As you can see how much yellow is left compared to earlier. And then I also went in at an angle here to get the undercut of this. And then the remainder I did from back here. It's hard to see, but I wish I had maybe a specific porting bits because I could make it even nicer. But as far as performance goes, this will be a vast improvement. So if we could flow test this, then we would notice. But this is one of those things that you will only notice if you don't do it and if there's a problem. So, like I said, we're not going to worry about porting either the exhaust flanges, but this is ready to go off to powder coating now. Just got these parts back from ceramic coating. Let's have a look at them. So the downpipe, nice and coated. The manifold no longer has rust on it because it's coated. Check that out, our powder coater. He tapes off all the threads so we don't have to deal with that. He also tapes off the flanges, or cleans them off at least. And then the turbocharger. Okay, we actually got a couple more parts in for this kit here, and I'm also going to start reassembling the turbo. So what just came in the mail today is what appears to be an updated design for the radium fuel rail. The previous one, it's been several years since I bought a fuel rail for a 1.6 Miata. They are different than the 1.8s, but it looks like they've updated the design. At least from what I can remember. So there is a location on top here for you to maintain your stock fuel pressure regulator if you choose to. Then there's of course your end fittings, and then they have one on the underside. Specifically, I don't remember one on the underside. And then we also got the plumbing kit with it, which came with this little 90-degree banjo style adapter, 2 plugs, and then the appropriate adapters if you wanted to keep your stock fuel pressure regulator. Obviously we're not keeping the stock fuel pressure regulator. We're going to be running this little DW unit here. I've already got this thing assembled. I'm probably going to end up putting a gauge on it. I do have these nice radium gauges on deck as well, so it'll make this whole setup look really pretty. I really like how the radium gauges look. They're also a decent price. So we also got a fuel pump. Since this car isn't going to be making an astronomical amount of power, we didn't go with a giant fuel pump, but we got a DW200. This should be more than enough to handle all the power this thing is going to make. Also, I want to point out that it looks like DW has also updated their designs as well. This looks like a new sleeve. This is a nice colored sleeve. Before it was just, it had the logo, and well, now it's pretty, so that'll look pretty when it's in the fuel tank. It also comes with a pickup sock. All right, I'd like to point out another thing. The customer had supplied all this assembled, which means the gaskets, well, they need to be thrown away. But furthermore, I've found these gaskets, I think they're from Amazon or eBay or something, but they're like a softer aluminum, they're a little bit thicker, and then they're folded over, and that gives you a lot of ability to compress them down and get a really good seal, I've found. The one that came with the kit was one of the flat ones that just has that rim around it for a little bit better of seal, just like your regular embossed gaskets. But I find these seal really well, and then of course I put copper spray all over them. So I got a couple of rounds of copper spray on this thing. Customer supplied it with copper nuts, and we're gonna assemble it. Okay, so I finished assembling the turbo here. We got the oil restrictor inlet, we've got the 2 little banjo bolts. I have not tightened these down since we're going to have to go back and put coolant lines on them. Those aren't set in stone yet. But I did want to bring something to your attention here. So we have this flapper here, the flapper moves, but inadvertently it got stuck. I noticed that when you flap it open, it gets very, very bound up. Let's take a look on the inside. I got a flashlight here so you can see a little bit better. There you go. So we take a look inside. Take a look inside and you can see where the flapper is sticking up here on the top of the housing right there. And my fear is that even if I shave it down, we're still going to have a problem. Let's see. There we go. You see what I mean? It's really bound up. So I fear that even if I shave that down, that it's still going to end up being a problem, because of course this thing is getting stuck at about, let's say, 60, 70 degrees, and it can go all the way to 90 and maybe a little bit more. So, okay, so good thing I didn't tighten these these down, but I had to make a shave right here. So notice I shaved all that off right there. What I did is I primarily had to shave right where my finger is. And the good news is that apparently the door opens, and we didn't have to shave much here because once the door cleared here, it actually ended up that the button on the back of the door contacts right here, so it limits there instead of friction, you know, binding up against here. So when I stick this on here, now when I flap the door open, it'll close, no problem. So solved. So I don't know if it's the kit or maybe the customer lost it, but there weren't the two bolts that hold on the oil drain. Fortunately, I had some extras on hand. They must be low profile for that 10AN fitting to fit on there. Next is I got the outlet pipe here. It's actually O-ringed on it, which is kind of cool. Curious though, they welded the inside but not around the outside. I mean, I can see why they didn't weld all the outside because it's obviously close here, but curious detail. Next thing is the minor complaint. This is the inlet. There's no gasket for it or anything. That's not my complaint. I could always put some paper gasket or RTV or something, but this was apparently raw, straight off of the plasma table because the bolts don't even go through. So I'll drill those out and we'll stick that on there. And then the turbo will actually be fully assembled short of clocking the cold side. Austin's gone ahead and put a bunch of stuff together, so let's go over what's been done. We have the coolant reroute installed from Inline Motorsports. Got this giant cast thingy over here holding the silicone hose out of the way. We moved the gauge over to the regulator because it obviously would. Oh shit, I hit my head on the hood. Move the regulator, the gauge to the regulator because it wouldn't fit right here. We were able to get that line to fit over on this side. It is a nice fit there. This is going to be brand new fuel lines on both sides of that. Just got to make a short jog of AN line from here to here. Coolant reroute in the back is all nice and good. Come around to the front. We are getting the power steering stuff out of the way in order to be able to drill the oil pan well. So we already have the pilot hole done, and then we're going to get in there and tap it for our half NPT. Then, as you see, we already have this manifold on here. We should be getting a gasket for this thing today. And let's see, what else? Took off the exhaust.
Got the exhaust off, fuel rail installed on.
Oh yeah.
You got everything apart over here.
Okay, so we finished the turbo oil drain. We're gonna work on the coolant lines and the oil feed right now. We've got the turbo sitting in here. Our gasket still hasn't shown up, so it's just hanging out here. Got a couple of these couplers going on here. We have no idea what's going on with this inlet thing here because there's nothing in the Kraken website about how this is supposed to go. But it would seem as though this is supposed to go this way and the air filter goes right on that, but obviously that's not happening with any of this stuff here. So if anything, it'll reverse, but I don't know how the air filter will fit here. That's whatever. I'd like to point out, if you can see way down in there where my light is, there's a bolt. That is actually an oil gallery. So we're going to be able to tap into that for oil feed. That is only because this is a 1.6. The 1.6s have those, and I believe the Mazda Speed 1.8s have those, but none of the other ones do, which is a nice feature on this. Note that we do have AC and power steering on this, so that's why this one is directed to go upward. I came across an interesting thing on this radiator. So we're adding on the fans that the customer had supplied, but don't know what brand this radiator is. I haven't seen this before. There's a raised aluminum bar across here for better sealing on the factory fans. But the weird thing is, I've never seen this before, but we're just going to have to knock it off in order to be able to put on our aftermarket fans since they seal flat against this. I decided to point that out.
Ring, ring.
So we're about to install the intercooler. It has these crooked mounts to it, which would indicate that it mounts to the tow hook position. So we're going to need to take out this big plastic thingy. Also, as you can see, we took care of modifying that radiator piece, just cut it off, smoothed it. Now the radiator's installed. Car back down. We just got our T25 gasket. Austin's out there spraying in copper. But we put this on here just so we could see where these pipes go. Looks like we're gonna have a little bit of difficulty. Man, these pipes, they're not really intuitive as to where they go. But we at least got the couplers on here, and 90 coupler there, and a 90 coupler there, and then this pipe goes over there. And I did end up finding that it did come with an IAT. It was just in the intercooler box. Looks like this pipe was a little bit damaged in transit. That won't affect us. We'll put our throttle body cactus on here in a bit. But yeah, this is going to be a mess because there's like no space down there for anything. But we did get this cool looking multi-weld pipe that allegedly goes in that space. We'll figure it out here in a minute. Austin's working on getting that lower, well, the oil drain in there. We got a nice heat sleeving on there using the fire sleeve stuff by DEI. So earlier I pointed out this hose and I thought it was the recirculation hose because there's no way it could be any other hose. As of right now, I'm even more confused because it can't be a recirculation hose since it's the wrong size. That being said, we were going to use that Greddy one. It has the wrong size on it for us to use. So this one's a smaller diameter. We have to use the aftermarket. Furthermore, since this is not for recirculation, we have to use it in full blow-off config. So either way, I've installed this, or at least just stuck it on here, closed off this port, left this is wide open. They actually have different opening sizes. This one's wide open, and this one over here has a little tiny slot inside of it. So if you did want to do dual outlet, then you have this over here, so at least a little bit gets blown off, and most of it goes to recirc. Up here, this is a spring adjuster. I tested it, has 59 clicks from 0 to 59. So I've set it at 30 for now. We'll see how it acts. It says to adjust it based off of how your flutter acts. Austin has mounted up the turbo. It's temporarily mounted just for the moment. But we got this oil line coming off of that spot on the side there, like we had mentioned before. This is the line stuff that was supplied. We're just gonna run it around all the way over here so it stays as far away from heat sources as possible. We are going to have to bend this line right over here to get it to move closer to the firewall. Obviously it's going to contact here, and it's very likely that we're going to have to cut away some of that shape right there. This is just flat over here, so we're probably just going to have to cut that back. And then we also have the oil drain line in there. It's not hooked up to the turbo, but it's actually installed now on the oil pan at least. And then these are the coolant lines that come to and from the turbo. We just intervened here. We'll cut these to length later on when that's finalized. We've taken care of trimming down that little bit of section right there, as you see, sort of in line with the hole there. That should be enough. We had put the downpipe in there just to see how it fits up. And we're ready to install the turbo. Austin took care of connecting up the wastegate actuator and lining it up. There is something like a 1/4 inch-ish of preload on this because this is non-adjustable, so it's installed as, well, as it is. All right, recap for this week's progress. Got the coolant, the intake cactus installed. That piping down there is all connected. We don't have any of these couplers tightened down yet, but we got this all at least mocked up. That pipe is gonna be a pain in the ass fitment down there, it looks like. Downpipe has been installed with a reasonable amount of space there. Now, that heater hose had to be bent out of the way, so it was bent towards the rear. That's not very much, you know, we typically have to bend those anyway. But we're gonna have to figure out this guy here, because that's fitment.
Yeah, we may end up having to change to a 1/8 hose for this run off of the water pump there to the radiator, because we are running into
everything,
big time issues with that pipe in general. And once you get this pipe kind of set where it should be, you can kind of see the angle. This is way off. It should be roughly like this, but not only are we slamming up against the radiator outlet there, I'm sorry, the water pump side of things, but then that puts us into the fan quite a bit. So we can't move this pipe back to get it away. So we may end up needing to change that.
Also wanted to show that we got all the exhaust installed. We'll have to see how fitment is. There's a little bit of adjustability, but not much. This seems to hang kind of low here. We also heat shielded this side of the transmission tunnel. The fitment seems okay here as well. A little bit tight there. I hope he doesn't get a rattle off of that spot there, because that is really tight. But we don't really have any adjustability on the top side, nor really down here. Over here working on getting that TPS out so we can throw in the BMW one that we have. So I want to point out how we got this stuff routed. Disconnected a couple of the power steering lines so we can have a little better of access here. And we've ordered the NB lower lower coolant hose. So check it out. That pipe goes here. This comes almost to touching. Coupler doesn't look happy. And then we come down here. It is connected. So it looks like it's going to work. Not sure how much chafing we're going to get, but It's a tight fit.
We've got to get that lower radiator hose in there. I did remove the power steering cooler, and then I'm obviously then redoing the return to the rack from the reservoir.
And we are using power steering specific hose.
Yep. I also did change the routing of the pressure line. Before, the pressure line was on the other side of the reservoir, the main dump into the pump. So I did flip it over onto the other side, disconnected it from both sides. That's going to present a little bit of an issue with the intake pipe here, but I think we've got some plans to take care of that issue.
We've got the fuel system plumbed. All this is nice and done. So we have the soft line running from here to here, and then a AN line running from here to here, and then a soft line back over here. Vacuum reference goes to the T here, that runs over to our boost gauge, and then this runs to here. Then we removed out the wiper reservoir from here. This is where we're going to be putting our catch can, since we got this fat catch can and there's not really many places to put it. We were thinking about putting it up here, but I said that's too much routing, because this, while this quick vent is really nice and stuff, our options are pretty much here to here, because it's so low that we can't point it forward, we can't point it over the coils, so it has to point pretty much this direction. Turbo stuff is all good. And this filter is going to need some help in order to fit with the hood closed, so, you know, something like that. Looks like he's already done some of the power steering lines, but we still have the cooler sitting over there, so we may have to do some sort of loop in order to get some sort of cooling in there. As far as interior goes, we've got the Mega Squirt in here, mounted up to the floor using riv nuts. Try to use riv nuts instead of self-tappers, because, you know, self-tappers suck. And then we've got some wiring that we have to do. We have to tee in with our wideband over there, which I'm presuming is this white wire. And then the other one's just a boost gauge. And then we also need to rewire some of the stuff at the ECU side because of the TPS. So more info on that later in the video. Customer came and paid us a visit with the correct adapter for the Greddy blow-off, because he wanted us to use that one. So this is a 1 inch, the other one was like a 1.5 or a 1 1/4, but he brought us the correct one. This will bolt onto here, and that'll work. Let's see, we got the longer version of this coupler. This is the coupler that came with the kit. We just got a long one, so this one's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches long, and that seems to do the job. It seems like just about everything else is together. This needs to be clamped down. These lines obviously need to be fabricated. We're going to need to go into Mega Squirt and modify the values for the use of this coil on plug system. Let's see. And we still need to modify the AFM wiring. So we got 2 wires that need to be run over for, we got 2 wires that need to be run over to the IAT, and then we need to cross 2 wires so that the fuel pump turns on. And it looks like you left that here. Austin has now run our stainless steel 10AN lines over here to the cap. We've got the Greddy blow-off valve installed. All the piping has been clamped off, all vacuum lines have been routed, and now we're just ready to get it tuned.